Okay, last one for today is about built-ins, so built-in functions. And what you need to understand is if you're in year 12, you cannot use all of the Python functions that you're used to using. The idea of a syllabus is to solve problems with the bare essentials to teach you like problem solving. So rather than looking at the pseudocode guide, this changes each year with paper 2. You get a appendix or an insert now, so a separate bit of paper that lists which built-in functions you have access to when solving the problems. So let's go through step by step and look at some of these. So we've got left string, or left rather. We've got right, so slice the right of the string. We've got mid, which we already talked about. That's extract the substring. Find the length of a string. Make a char lowercase. Make a char uppercase. Make a string uppercase. Make a string lowercase. Convert a number to a string. Convert a string to a number. Second string is a number. Convert a character to its ASCII value. Convert an ASCII value to its character. Convert a fractional number into an integer. And get a random real number. Then we've got some date functions as well. So extract a day from the date, extract a month from the date, extract a year from a date, find which day of the week it is as a number, with Sunday being number 1, set the date, and get the today's date. Today's date, I should say. At the same time, this is not just built-in functions. Oh, there's EOF as well. But this also covers the operators. So what you need to understand is concatenate, and so we've got and or not. We've got mod and div. And then we've got our comparative operators, which I think we've already covered. So what we're going to do now is go through these one by one and look at the Python equivalent. So let's try and get this done quickly. Maybe I'll put some comments. If I want to find the left-hand side of a string in Python, this would just be using slicing. So for example, if I was trying to do left with hello, take 2, in Python this would be hello and up to index 2, right? I've done that thing where it's taken away my syntax highlighting for some reason. Just bear with me 1 second. Oh. Let's just try. There is a way to do it. There's a keyboard shortcut, configure idle. Oh, control slash. Yeah. I'm used to pressing control slash for comment out, right? Okay. What would write look like? So for example, if we could do write hello 2, well in Python that would be from -2, go to the end. I'll take the last 2 characters. Mid we've already covered. So for example, if I wanted to say mid from hello, take from index 1, take 2 characters, how would that look in Python? So I want to say from index 0, take up to 2. Length is obviously just len. So we don't have characters in Python. We only have strings. So how do we find the lowercase version of a string? The same thing, a character. It would just be dot lower. How do we do it with uppercase? So the difference here is that it's a string method in Python. So it's string dot, because the functions live inside the string object. Let's do upper. How do you convert a number to a string in Python? So that would be using the string function. How do you convert a string to a number in Python? That would be using the int function. How do you convert, or how do you check if something is a number, if a string is a number? In Python, that's the isDigit method. How do you find the ASCII value of a character? In Python, that's ord. How do you convert an ASCII value into a character? In Python, that's the same, that's just char. How do you convert an integer into, or a real number, a floating point number, into an integer? Well, that also uses int. We have 2 versions of that. Random doesn't exist in the standard library, so you need to convert it from random import random. But this works in a slightly different way because we get a real number. If you look in the pseudocode guide in the function index, then it could return something like 35.43. So if we are talking about the direct Python equivalent of this, how would we do it? So let's say we're finding a random number between, we want 4 digits, but then what we want to actually do is divide it by 1,000. No, divide it by 100. Right, is my maths right? Let me just open another shell. So for example, if it's 111 and we divide it by 100, that will give me 11.11. If it's 999, this will give me the maximum value, which is 99.99. I guess the minimum number has to be 100, because the lowest number we can get is, the minimum number has to be, the minimum number would just still be 1, wouldn't it? Yeah, okay. So from 1 up to 999 and then divide it by 100 in order to get the same thing of a real number. When it gets on to dates in Python, we probably use date time. But for the purpose of your exam in paper 4, dates are just strings. So we've got a date represented in this format. So if you look here, the date is always day, month, year. So because the date is a string, in terms of paper 4, we can just split it and we can access the first thing returned to get the day. If we want a month, it's the second thing returned. If we want a year, it's the third thing returned. This next one's a little tricky because what this day does is it takes a date and it tells you whether it's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. This is not something straightforward in Python because the function has to know if it was the 13th of January 1976, was that a Sunday, a Monday, Tuesday, etc. So for this one, we would need to use the datetime. I don't think this will ever come up in your exam. I don't think you will ever need to do this for paper 4. From datetime, import datetime. And if I've got a date, so for example, this one, so 2020 05 12, the first thing I want to do is format it into the date as a word. Let me just check this while I do it. Let's import the datetime library. let's not have the leading 0 there because that's wrong. Write the name of the method properly, string format time. Okay, and then that gives me the day. So if I know the day, there's probably a way to turn that into a number, but I don't know what it is. So let's just make a string or a list of days, with Sunday being the first. Mon, Tu, Wed, Thu, Fry, Sat, Sun, and split it up. And if this gives me a day, in order to find the day index, what I would do is look inside days and find the index of day, and then that should tell me, any. So if I was to convert this into, this is a little bit of a tangent, but if I was to remake the function as described in pseudocode, the date would come in as a string. I would probably do it like this. I'd need to take the date and I'd need to we need to pass it in slightly different. Int year, int month, int day, and a month year is the date split at the slash. See if that works. So if I run my program, if I've got the right amount of brackets. So let me just comment everything else out. Let's see if I can run my day index function now and say, okay, I know I was born on a Wednesday, so let's test it with my birthday. What we should expect to see is the number for Wednesday, but only if I have the date time library imported. Let's write the name of the function properly. So Sunday is, okay, I'm treating Sunday as 0, but I'm pretty sure that it says that Sunday should be 1. So whatever the answer is, we need to add 1. Let's try again. So I was born on a Wednesday, so it should return 4, right? Because Sunday is 1. Correct. So what about in the 5th of the 4th in 1876? Well, apparently that was also a Wednesday. Let's try another random year, so 1999. That was a Monday, so that was day 2. So this is how the day index function would be implemented in Python, but please don't worry about that. Day, so datetime.datetime.now would give us today's date in Python. What is the purpose of set date? Okay, well, set date in Python is just datetime.now. Datetime with day, month, year would give me the date. So we can't do these things if dates are strings, but for these functions, we'd actually need the date object. I don't think it comes up in Python. We talked about EOF before. If we're iterating through the lines in a file, end of file is whenever line equals blank. Concatenate is just plus. When it comes to the Boolean operators, there's no difference apart from the fact they're in lowercase. When it comes to mod, we use the percentage. When it comes to div, we use the double slash. Okay, so that was everything that's covered in the kind of pseudocode appendix to do with built-in functions and built-in operations and how you would do those in Python. Instead.